Hey, you, I'm Anissa. Welcome to Create to Liberate. This podcast is really about self inquiry, mindfulness, shadow work. We like to dig deep in understanding what's going on in our unconscious, subconscious. These things arise in us, these dark spots. And I like to unpack that through my own lived experience because I believe we're all each other's mirrors. We provide a mirror to each other to be able to see ourselves more clearly, and hopefully, by me sharing my story and experiences, it helps you get a window into what's going on in your beautiful mind. So I took the last month and a half away from social media, if not more. I made a short little video around reclaiming your wild self, your feral self, because sometimes when we get into these routines of showing up consistently online or showing up regularly in the same old ways, it serves us to have some pattern interrupt, some break to understand, is this a way I want to continue operating going forward? Am I just in this habitual way of operating kind of robotic? Is this not supporting me and tuning into the things that matter to me most? And I was actually feeling a deep internal pull to go within to explore some things on my emotional, personal life side, and additionally reconnect with nature, reconnect with things that bring me more to an expanded state of oneness. So one way that we can reach a level of liberation is going within, actually tuning into the deep energy within us that is connected to everything and everyone. And another way is also tuning outside of us into the expansiveness of nature, into deep nurturing relationships and going deeper in those connections. And so I was feeling a deep need for deepening. And it's so healthy to honor this cycle for yourself. If you find yourself skimming the surface of life and not having the level of intimacy that you're desiring, the level of spiritual depth you're desiring, then it takes pulling out at times. And so for today's episode, I want to go into the importance of actually stepping away from the online world for a bit, what it did for me in this last month and a half, and some other fun updates that I'm excited to share about. So one of the things that arose for me in this month and a half on an emotional level that I'd become aware of previously is that we need to connect with our hearts, to have the deep level of connection that we desire. Sometimes we can be in this mode of having conversations with people, entering these like surface level spaces in our conversations with people. Our ego might be driving some of the decision making in our connection with people. There's so many ways in which when we're not going really deep with ourselves, where we're not actually heart opened, then we're not going to be in deep, intimate connection with others. So we're not going to feel that as so nourishing. And so we might tune into getting our satiation from social media, from quick little texts and things like that, versus I want to be with people, stare into their eyes, drop in deeply, feel my heart expanded and receiving everything that they're sharing with me, feeling my mind open to just listening, to really being present with them. And to be in that space, we have to be in the place of allowing that for ourselves as well. So during this time, it became clear to me that there were certain walls that I was having that were blocking my heart from loving. And some of those walls are common for all of us. We have here our solar plexus, our Manipura chakra, where we might have some wounding. And so here in our ego, things that might be blocking us commonly from loving people, from experiencing love with more people more regularly, is judgment. That's a really common one, judging people, putting them in boxes, not really listening to them, but already starting to dissect information about them and categorize them. It might be embarrassment that's blocking us from showing up as our most authentic, heart-opened version of self. We're just scared of being the weird one. We're scared of being eccentric. We're hiding parts of ourselves that we most need to embrace and accept and love. That might be the spiritual side of you if you're tuning into this. That needs to be shown that it's safe to be present. It's safe to take up space in the world. It might be that we're blocking ourselves from loving because we have a level of needing to forgive people in our life. And that was coming up for me hugely. Just people from the past, friendship dynamics, people that I dated. So many patterns of people that were arising for me within dreams is a good place to do this analysis. See, are people surfacing on your social media feed, or are there things that you're seeing in the outer world that are reminding you and taking you back to some nostalgic place to remember a relationship that didn't have closure around it? And how can you bring closure to yourself now, here, when you get those little reminders? Because what often people do is they remember that person from the past and they build up more blockage. They build up more resentment. They actually don't take the time to be like, hey, how can I send this person love? How can I forgive them more deeply in the present? Not by reaching out to them, but just by having that acknowledgement and that awareness. I did find myself shooting off a little happy birthday email to a friend that I used to have as a very close friend, and we became less friends and more acquaintances over time, and that was painful for me. But I still want to share a note of love to them, that I love them more, even maybe more strongly than ever before now that they're not in my life, which is so weird to share with people, and some people won't understand it. But as you go through your healing journey and you embrace more of the love within you, the more of the unconditional love, that'll start to pour out. You'll just be going through these experiences of needing to love more and not hold that back for these petty, superficial, egoic reasons that are like judgment, embarrassment, pride, etc. How can we drop all of those walls? So in this month and a half, it was me needing to drop walls, and constantly getting that from subconscious reminders through dreams, visions, through different ways. I felt like I was walking through the world, just noticing all of the synchronicities and piecing together stories and shedding. And it was really powerful, because what it brought me to was my heart, was this powerful magnetic force that lives within all of us, that guides us through life. It is so deeply more soul connected than when we're driving from our ego and we're like driving from a place of not enoughness, comparison, competitiveness. When we can drop back into our heart, then we're actually more fearless. We're willing to take more risks and show up more authentically. And that's the place that I know you want to be. So many of us want to be. We want to feel our expanded, liberated sense of self. So that was my month and a half, to not get into any oversharing or details, but just to give you a little overview of what that time meant for me. And I made this little short video around connecting with my feral self, because another piece of it was, the presence of nature, just to like feel your expanded version of self in nature, to feel how small you are relative to a massive mountain or the ocean, to really take hikes and just listen to the amount of life that's around us that has nothing to do with us. It exists, and it has such a symbiotic relationship. And sometimes in this world that we live in, we can feel out of place. We can feel like we have to force so much to exist. And the truth is, you don't. Your existence is enough. And in those moments when I'm taking a long hike and soaking in hot springs, or swimming in the ocean, which is less common here in Los Angeles. But in those moments, I am reminded that I exist and that's enough. You exist and that's enough. You're meant to be here. You're just a part of nature. Your existence is enough without you doing so much. So even though this podcast is called Create to Liberate, that's actually a little bit dated. I would, if I felt in the mood to rebrand, it would just be called Liberate, because your way of being as you are, just by being, is enough. And sometimes we don't remember that enoughness, or we try to run from it because it pushes us from this scarcity mindset. It pushes us to do more, achieve more, etc., rather than rest in the knowing of our worth. So yeah, I come back to this sharing with a lot of gratitude and a lot of contentment. I think there was a layer to which, when we create anything and we put it out publicly, we want people to receive things well. We have a natural desire to want things to be cherished, and we actually don't have any control over our reception, and we shouldn't base our validation around the things we do based on algorithms most hugely. And that was a really big takeaway from me during this time. And I hope that's a takeaway for you in anything that you're creating these days. We live at a time at which it's very, very late stage capitalism. Monopolies, tech companies run a lot of these algorithms, and what is being surfaced and catered to serves a specific agenda that's unlikely supporting the empowerment and liberation of people. It's more than likely holding their attention, feeding them as much dopamine and things that they can deem as consumer viable, because that's what capitalism is rooted in, making money for specific businesses and not necessarily just feel good empowerment stuff. And I, with that awareness, was able to come back and be like, how can I show up from a place of joy, from a place of ease, not working to get anywhere, but really just working to sustain my presence with you all. And if you've enjoyed that, amazing. Let me know. Thank you for being here. And another offering that I came up recently with is I want to support those who are going through Kundalini awakening. So I made one previous video specifically around Kundalini awakening. And during this last month and a half, it became clear to me that I'm getting to a place of closure in the completion of this kind of full arc of Kundalini spiral. So it's an ongoing, lifelong process to be in the process of unpacking things from our subconscious and unconscious into our conscious state and operating. But Kundalini specifically and Kundalini awakenings are a process at which you might experience deep energetic shifts. Your life will change very dramatically. And I know it did for me in 2023 when I went through this, and the level of aloneness that I felt, isolation I felt, was so intense. And I know that there's others who would benefit from having more support from me. So if you look at the link in my biography, you can find a number of links. But one of them is to support people who are going through ascension symptoms, etc. And that is quite a niche population of people. And so if you're unsure if you're going through a Kundalini awakening, likelihood is you're not. But when you know, you know. And this is important to me because it is very troubling that there are so many folks who are in very vulnerable positions going through awakenings and then not having the resources available to them. And I want to be a resource to guide people to resources that I found valuable and impactful, and also share from my own practices and energy work, etc. I digress. Oh, one of the things that arose for me during this time also was I don't want to be so edited. We live in a world right now where there's so much over manipulation and refinement online, especially, that it disconnects us from the beauty of presence and slowness that we actually want to embody in our real lives sometimes. You don't want to live in a world where people are interacting with each other TikTok style, which is basically just like having ADHD all the time, where it's like, what? What'd you say, huh? Who? This, flash. It's like way too much. I think that it's been helpful for me to tune out of social media and tune out of fast content particularly, because now I can read a book. Now I can watch and sit through a 2-hour movie without as much distraction. And I do such a deep meditation practice, and I consider myself a person with really deep presence. But when I'm in the habit of also consuming such sensational and fast, choppy content, it starts to change our attention span. And now it's a powerful time to reclaim our attention span, reclaim our inner power. So a lot of energy work is really just about the reclamation of all the places that we're distributing energy that are not back to ourselves. Sometimes we need to cut our energy from certain things, from certain habits, from certain people, places, things, so that we can reclaim that for ourselves and we can channel that to our deepest desires, towards our dreams, towards things that give us life, that we just think about and light us up and nourish us back in the process. So it's a really good sign that you're being soul-led when you're doing things that not only excite you as far as the vision of them in the future, the manifestation of them, but all along the journey, you're continuing to be fed back that excitement, that light. That's what's motivating you forward. You know you're on track when you're feeling that level of aliveness just through the thought of doing the thing, not even the completion of it. So I highly encourage a feral fall for you to reclaim your energy, cut yourself from the online world for a little bit, even if it's a week, even if it's a month, even if it's a day. It's been wonderful to just feel more myself, more dropped in, more grounded than before. I hope that shows. I'm sending you so much love in the days ahead. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you soon. Appreciate you being here.